Hello and welcome to the number one horror podcast on Pornhub, Getting Off. I am your host, the Warden, Matt Ritter, and I am here with an agape, Miss Katie Kinsey Bebe.
That was fantastic.
It was fantastic. She kicked ass. And from Young Kings Wrestling, formerly of the Havoc Hour, and my best horror friend on podcasting, Mr. Reek Havoc. How you doing, Reek?
I'm good, and I'm also upset because my internet, as y'all can probably see, is not cooperating the best. So the intro was a little fucked up. I only got to see glimpses, and I'm very upset because it looks very dope, and I'm gonna need a replay.
We can do a replay. Not right now, but we will do a replay once your internet, straightens itself out and you feel comfortable. However, if you don't get a chance for that while we're doing this, you can always go back to twitch.tv/creationworld and check out the replay there, or youtube.com/creationworld and check out the repeat there. Like, subscribe, notification bell to know when we go live. We are here today, ladies and gentlemen, if you can't tell from the title, to talk about Horny Trees and Chainsaw Arms, more specifically the Evil Dead franchise, because April has kind of now become like Evil Dead month, in my opinion. 2013, we got the Evil Dead remake on my birthday. April 21st, we're getting Evil Dead Rise. So we're dedicating April to Evil Dead.
Yeah. I don't know, it's my birthday.
Will
and you're watching it right now.
Shh.
I just noticed.
He's not watching anything.
Nobody can see that.
Okay.
All
right.
There's nothing in the background.
Reek, you saw the entire franchise prior to this before, right?
Relatively, not the whole thing, but most.
Okay. And Katie, you just got introduced to movies like 2 years ago, so this was your first watch through.
So fucking sick of this narrative. I have seen the original and 2013, because you made me watch 2013 last year, which I loved. But I had not seen 2 or 3. So I did watch those earlier this week.
All right. Reek, where does Evil Dead sit for you in the pantheon of horror franchises?
We're talking obviously original, right?
Not the original, just the franchise as a whole. Where does it sit? Because you look at Halloween. Halloween's got remakes. Friday the 13th's got remakes. Nightmare on Elm Street has remakes. Everything has remakes. So these 4 movies that we're going to talk about tonight, as a whole, with Ash as the main character. I mean, you can even throw in Ash versus Evil Dead, even though we're not going to talk about it because I know Katie has not watched 3 seasons of a show.
Nope.
We'll get there one day. But yeah, no. Overall, the character. Are you a Sam Raimi fan?
Slightly, not too much. But this franchise, it's tough. I would probably put it, I guess, in the center, maybe slightly upper half, only because it's just like you go from that original, which was so different and, kind of set a tone for, I guess, possession movies going forward. But then as you go forward with sequels, the direction completely changes and we get into something that eventually isn't even horror anymore, to be honest. Now, the reboot / sequel totally takes it to a whole nother level, and we'll get to that. But that's where I kind of say, okay, now we're moving back up in the right direction. But as a whole, I'd probably put it right around the middle.
Katie, what about you? Your first watch through of Evil Dead 2 and Army of Darkness, getting a refresher on the original Evil Dead. I'm sure seeing the parallels between what I said about Doctor Strange's Multiverse of Madness and what the fuck Evil Dead is now way more clearly.
Yeah, definitely makes a lot more sense. To be honest, I don't know what the fuck I was expecting from 2 and 3. It sure as fuck was not anything I watched. That's for sure. I don't even know what I watched. I'll be honest.
Okay. Thoughts on Ash Williams? Because generally, we talk horror movies, and when you talk horror movies, the discussion's always the final girl. The final girl. Your Laurie Strodes, your Sydneys, your Heather Langenkamps. The final girls are normally the big horror trope. Not in Evil Dead. In Evil Dead, it's an Ashley, but it's an Ashley Williams, and he's got a penis and a boomstick and a chainsaw arm. That is your protagonist. How do you guys feel about Ash?
Smash. Bruce Campbell's
okay.
hot. I'll be honest. These movies, Bruce Campbell, beautiful.
Smash Ash, gotcha.
There you go.
All right.
I'm just being honest.
Okay. I'm not going that direction. I'm not into it. But underrated, definitely. I think, when you think about, all those, like you just said, final girls and stuff like that, and how so many of them have the nature to be like, badass and, have a certain charm to it. Well, Ash kind of has the same thing going. It's honestly a compelling character. I mean, were it not for his character, I don't think these movies are watchable. So there's that. And, obviously the chainsaw on the arm is just it's a look. It's a whole thing, and Bruce Campbell's probably one of the best actors you could find to fit into this role too. So, I mean, all things considered, I think when you look at classic characters in horror, I don't think he gets enough of being noticed, honestly.
Fair enough. So I've previously gone on and said I'm not a huge Sam Raimi fan. I don't love Sam Raimi's Spider-Man. However, I did talk about how I do appreciate Multiverse of Madness and how it is essentially an Evil Dead film. And I don't really think, like, I've watched the Evil Dead movies. I've watched them multiple times. I really love 2013, which we're going to talk about, but I don't really think I really, maybe it's Multiverse of Madness that changed my mind a little bit. Like, I didn't really give them a chance because most of the iconic stuff that you know about Ash, because I also loved Ash versus Evil Dead, like the series, I fucking love. It's fantastic. But that Ash that you get to know and all of the iconic parts of the films aren't until the sequel, which we'll get to in a second. The original film is much more the tone of what we got in the remake. So the original film is like a straight up horror film, and it's the basis for things like Cabin in the Woods and all of these films where a group of friends goes to a abandoned cabin in the woods. They find, in this case, the Necronomicon Ex Mortis, which is the whole core center of my horror or my slasher verse. Do some dumb shit. In this case, listen to a recording of a guy reading the fucking Latin from the book. Ladies and gentlemen, if you find a book, don't ever read the Latin in the book. Unleash a evil orgasm that follows them around and possesses them in different forms, turning them into deadites that Ash then has to fight off. But definitely original movie, way more horror. Unfortunately, it's a low budget film and a lot of the effects don't really stand up. If you're watching it, you've never seen it before.
That's true.
And the personality's not there for Ash. It's a very different Ash.
Yeah, he's a pussy in the first movie.
He is a pussy in the first movie.
He is.
Yeah, can't argue with that.
Say don't argue.
But let's talk Evil Dead, the original.
It's one of those movies that has to grow on you. Because you think about the movies that came before it in terms of supernatural horror, so we say. You had stuff like Night of the Living Dead, and your Psychos and stuff like that. Like, this kind of just took you to a different place. You have, like I said before, the classic possession thing going on, but then there was so many different things to it. The haunted Horny tree that's possessing people, and the effects of how they look like zombies, but they're really possessed, and the Necronomicon at the heart of it all that causes all of this to happen. And I mean, you can stab and cut them up and they're still alive. Like there's just so many layers to it that, for the first time, you've never seen anything like this before. It's so different. So by that measure, it's kind of like, I don't want to say cult classic territory, because I don't think it was something that was necessarily bad and got better, but it was just different. And, once you, adjust to it and, put it in your rotation of horror films, it becomes, okay, that one's there, and standing on its own, it's like I said, it's one of those that are underrated, probably a little underappreciated, but such as any low budget film that doesn't get a lot of big acclaim when it first comes out.
Katie?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of hard to disagree with that. If you look at it kind of just like by itself, it does stand out amongst other movies kind of that came out at the time. I just want to talk about this tree for a second. Because I know damn well when we do a certain watch along, if I see a tree and or someone dressed up as a tree, I'm leaving. Because I fucking know. And I'm not going to be okay with it.
Man.
I got two questions for you about the tree. One, does nature need consent? Mother Nature specifically?
Yes.
Okay,
Consent
so
always.
someone needs to let her know that, because she's constantly just out here pollinating shit, and I don't know that she always has consent. This far different situation. Also, because it is Mother Nature, does that make that a lesbian scene?
That's a good question. It's a very good question.
Yes.
Yes. There you go. Evil Dead, the original, the first nature lesbian scene between a woman and a tree.
Definitely a butch lesbian, because it was very aggressive.
Very aggressive. Which then possessed Ash's sister Cheryl, who was honestly annoying the entire time. But
these characters sucked. Besides Ash.
Cheryl then goes back to the cabin, causes havoc, starts attacking people. They're getting possessed. And I think that's where, because like I said, the majority of the iconic scenes come from Evil Dead 2. However, the one that this definitely has is Cheryl locked in the cellar with the chains over the cellar door, poking her head out. That is this movie. That is one of those scenes that you see from Evil Dead all the time. The girlfriend, Ash's girlfriend, Linda, in this movie, annoying as shit as a Deadite also.
Yeah. I don't know what it is about these fucking characters. I hated them all.
Again, low budget. You're getting what you pay for. But I mean, it's just one of those things. You get a bunch of people together and you just say, "Hey, this is what we're kind of." You're going with the theme of everything. Like, everything was just like thrown together. A bunch of moving pieces. So it's not. It was never gonna be an acting masterpiece, basically.
I mean, that's for damn sure.
But here's where I have to give it credit, because the Evil Dead franchise is essentially, I guess you'd call it a cult classic. It spawned a video game. It got a crowd. I actually own it. It got a crowd-funded board game made for Evil Dead 2: Dead by Dawn. And as a backer of that, I got dice for the game made from a piece of the cabin from the movie, because they tore the cabin down. So I have that dice behind me. I have the Evil Dead board game. It is like a full-on, like intense fucking board game. You've got the video game, you've got the Ash versus Evil Dead series that people clamored to have back and then didn't fucking watch, which sucked because it was fantastic. You've got the remake, now you've got the sequel or whatever, Evil Dead Rises. Sorry, Evil Dead Rises. You've got Sam Raimi basically doing Evil Dead in the Marvel universe, which we talked about. You've got, like I said, movies like Cabin in the Woods, which this concept in and of itself is so iconic. The Necronomicon, which he got from H.P. Lovecraft, which he brought in, the creation of the Deadites, and the whole universe that Sam Raimi created throughout this and what is possible and what is capable is so loved and grabbed to, and people gravitate to it, and I can't blame them because, like I said, when I came with the idea for the Slasherverse, thanks to this and a little bit of Jason Goes to Hell, like, it's the linchpin that brings everything together and makes everything make sense.
That is true. That whatchamacallit, the dagger, whatever it is from Evil Dead,
Kandarian dagger.
So closely resembles the dagger from Jason Goes to Hell. I think it's the same one, honestly.
It's not. So the one from Jason Goes to Hell, it is. So in the original movie, they have a dagger that is just like, it's a dagger with a very ornate handle. In the second movie, the blade is actually made of like spine, so it's not a blade. In Jason Goes to Hell, instead of the skull and whatever's on there, there's like a dragon on that sword, and it's more like a sword than a dagger, and it also has a full-on blade. So again, with my Slasherverse and everything I talked about, the idea was that there would be a weapon that would be associated to each demon. So this is the Kandarian dagger for the Kandarian demon from the ruins of Kandar, which we will get into when we talk Dead by Dawn, because they give you way more context in Evil Dead 2 as to what's going on with that. Jason, the Voorhees, whatever the demon was, they didn't really give us a name for it, but whatever it was that was being killed there had its own dagger that would defeat it and its own rules to it and all of that. So each, I guess, entity that is brought out can be killed in different ways. Because like you said, you stab them, you shoot them, you do all of these things, and they kind of just jump from body to body. They don't really go away until you use the Kandarian dagger, and they make that way more. And that's why I loved Ash versus Evil Dead, because they took all of this stuff, this chaos that is the first three movies, and we're going to talk about the chaos here in a second. But they talk about the chaos that is the first three movies, and they pick bits and pieces of everything and try and make a canon, like a solid canon for it, and make everything make sense as to like what the Kandarian dagger is actually capable of and can do, and who it can kill, and the Nobi family, and it follows the original Evil Dead, but it pulls in aspects of Evil Dead 2, which we're about to talk about and why, as well as eventually references Army of Darkness and that it exists, and Ash at some point did travel back in time, and that was a thing that he kind of got high and forgot about. And they talk about that series as well. So Katie, I'm telling you, I fucking love that series. If you have time and you're bored, you would absolutely enjoy it. You gotta put it on your list. But
I'll watch it.
Evil Dead 2, Dead by Dawn. If you don't want to be Dead by Dawn, ladies and gentlemen, and you want to stay up all night fighting off Deadites, or if you're making a terrible choice like Reek and drinking Prime and you want something better for you, your diet, and yourself, W is a clean energy drink that is made to give you focus with no crash, jitters, angst like other energy drinks. They also have no maltodextrin fillers and don't use artificial dyes. W contains vitamins, amino acids, nootropic, and 150 milligrams of caffeine. The product is made in the USA in an FDA-inspected facility that strictly adheres to GMP manufacturing guidelines. W has handpicked what they believe to be the 10 most critical ingredients for focus and concentration. W contains important aminos and vitamins that canned energy drinks simply don't have. W uses Neurofactor, a patented all-natural coffee cherry extract, to help fuel you. This ingredient is what gives W its laser-focused and fast reflex effects, making it especially perfect for gamers. If you're up all night playing the Evil Dead video game, or you're locked in a cabin, you accidentally spoke some Latin, and now all your friends are being possessed, and you need to survive, W's got your back. They disclose full ingredient amounts, and the products will never contain fillers or artificial colors or dyes. W is also sugar-free, maltodextrin-free, and keto-friendly for those of you on a diet. So go to w.creationworld.com and use code CREATIA to receive 10% off your order today. Again, that is w.creationworld.com and use code CREATIA.
I'd like to point out that W sounds very dirty.
Yeah.
It just sounds like something like
That,
code word for a BJ or something.
Doesn't that suit what we do here?
Oh yeah, of course.
Get you a W.
See?
Yeah, when he sounds like that, yeah.
Speaking of a W, Evil Dead 2. So, all right, well, good night. We appreciate you sticking in. The rights to the or when Sam Raimi went to go make Evil Dead 2, he did not have ownership of the original Evil Dead movie. So when he wanted to use footage from the first film, he couldn't, so he had to reshoot everything. Due to whatever the case, changes were made. It is no longer Ash, his sister, his girlfriend, and their two friends going to a cabin. Now it is just Ash Williams and his girlfriend. And again, this is where everything that you really know about Evil Dead, everything that gets touted about Evil Dead, all of the famous shit about Evil Dead, the boomsticks, the chainsaw hands, Ash's severed hand, Ash's whole personality, really, of who he would go on to become, that everyone knows and loves. This all started in Evil Dead 2, Dead by Dawn. This movie is essentially, in the way I like to look at it, Ash Williams went to a cabin with his girlfriend, ate some bad shrooms in the forest, and had a trip. Meanwhile, a bunch of people showed up to the cabin, blah, 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 deadites, portal to another dimension, Ash gets thrown back in time. Yeah. But definitely a different feel, definitely heavier on the comedy, less so on the horror. It turns Ash into that lovable kind of idiot hero savant that he is.
Very true.
Okay.
And like I said, everything. I mean, we start off the movie with Ash playing this tape recorder of Professor Nobi, reading the incantations. They give us the whole breakdown of him going to the ruins of Kandar, finding the book. There are pages missing. His daughter stays back to look for the pages. He brings it back, deciphers it. Dumbass motherfucker specifically says that if I read these words, bad shit's gonna happen, and then reads the words. His wife gets possessed. He locks her in the basement. He's got to kill her. He's gone. I'm assuming he died because she's, spoiler alert, still alive. We'll get to her. And he's gone. Ash plays the recording. Orgasm wind comes. Girlfriend gets pulled out. Tell me it does not sound like every time that wind is going through. That's not what it sounds like.
Yeah, there's a theme of that goes from even from the first movie. Like, there's just something orgasmic in the air with this area, this location when they show up there. It's a recurring theme, is what I'm saying.
These are some horny ass demons. But girlfriend goes out into the, like, Ash hears a crash. Girlfriend's gone. He goes out into the woods. She jumps out, just trying to peekaboo, and then he cuts her head off with a fucking shovel. She may or may not have been possessed by a demon. Like, she may or may not have been possessed, but he lobbed her head off.
No, it's exactly
with a shovel.
For sure.
And then, like I said, it's downhill from there. Ash tries to leave. The bridge is broken. We've got the daughter, Professor Nobi, who has found the other pages, and she's like, I'm going to go to Daddy, and we're going to translate more of this fucking evil book, because that's smart. She's got some dude with her. They run into, like, a tow truck operator and his hillbilly-ass girlfriend and strike a deal where they're like, you know how to get to that cabin? Yeah, we do. Well, if you carry my bags, we'll pay you. All right, let's go. Like, weird as shit, but we had to get 5 people to the cabin. Girlfriend's already dead, so here comes the other 4. And the whole time, Ash is on a trip. Like, there are deers talking to him. He's seeing, his hand. his girlfriend's head comes back. She reanimates. She's half a skeleton. He's got to dismember her. She bites his hand. His hand goes evil. It's trying to choke him. Like all sorts of crazy shit is going on. He cuts his own hand off, which is how we get to the chainsaw hand. All of this shit's going on, like, and nobody knows. And then they show up, and there's just this crazy deranged man who's been kicking his own ass on a mushroom trip, whose girlfriend is dead and buried in the woods, which, by the way, you just cut her head off and then just dug a hole and buried her and made like a little... Was he planning on just like not telling anyone and going back home and being like, I don't know what happened. She just left. Like,
exactly. That's what most serial killers do.
I mean, at that point, there's not a whole lot you can say. Like, you take that to your grave, honestly. But I gotta say this: Ash crawled so that Jill Roberts could walk, because I forgot that he was beating the dog shit out of himself quite a bit with that hand, and it made me think back to how Jill had to really like maim herself to make it look good. Obviously, different circumstances, but yeah, that definitely set the tempo.
go ahead, Katie.
I literally wrote down for this. I was like, "What is this movie?"
Well, we got another horny tree here, but this tree just kind of drags and swallows somebody we don't see to the extent of what we saw, which would be the hillbilly girlfriend, truck driver's girlfriend, who gets sucked up by the tree, but still more trees grabbing people, groping people. Didn't like rip the shirt open and play with the nipple or anything like in the first movie, and then the up the skirt shot, which also that was very violent. Like that was a stabbing. Like that was not.
Yeah.
And it's still like scrapes the face and like goes all in the mouth too. So that it's still something going on there.
Exactly,
like
horny trees. Like I said, Ash had to cut his own arm off. He improvises on the go, a chainsaw hand. He's got a shotgun, but these people show up. They attack him. They throw him in the basement because there's a crazy man with one arm in this cabin. Her dad's gone. They don't know what the fuck's going on. So he gets thrown down there because he's losing his shit. Then they slowly start to find out by listening to the rest of the tape recording what happened, what's going on. People are turning into deadites. Ash has to fight them off. They're getting killed. Old girl's mom shows back up, and she also shows up in the Evil Dead, Ash versus Evil Dead thing. So like, she is just one bad like boss bitch of a deadite who will not go away.
Okay, Henrietta. Okay.
Yeah, because they lock Henrietta down in that cellar again. She's breaking through floors and shit in this one.
Jesus.
And she's like really disgusting. Anyway, but yeah, no, this is the Evil Dead that everyone knows. This is the Evil Dead that everyone thinks about. This is the Evil Dead that most people were disappointed by the remake of, because this is what they were expecting, and this is not what they got.
It was something I was very confused about. So does Ash become a deadite? Is that what was going on with him?
Yes, but all right. So we're all fans of the 2013 movie, right?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
All right.
Yeah,
so Evil Dead 2, Dead by Dawn. Linda way hotter in part 2 than part 1. Putting that out there.
Yeah.
Recast Linda, which they recast her again in 3, but that's neither here nor there. Way hotter. Yeah, I know.
Also pisses me off.
I hear you. She had that necklace, and that necklace was kind of like Ash's. It's what kept him centered. It's what kept him grounded. It's what helped him fight the demons off, because he had that love and that connection for his girlfriend. It also looks a lot like the buckthorn tree necklace from Evil Dead 2013. It is the same symbol and shape, which is what helped her kind of fight off that evil, and kept her and her brother connected so that she could come back.
Okay, because I needed clarification as to what the criteria was, because I was just thinking like, okay, so if he's got the demon, how does he just fight this shit off and go back to normal when everyone else just It's over for them, basically.
It's that symbol of love that he has from his girlfriend that he kept, because we see him get possessed right off the bat, like right after Linda gets killed. He's got that, it goes away, and then later on when he gets possessed again and starts fucking up Annie Nobi, he gets knocked down and he looks at it and he sees it and he grabs it, and when he grabs it, it snaps him out of it, and he's like, no, I'm okay now. But the problem is, the Deadites can transform from like Deadite to human and try and persuade you that everything's okay. So you never fucking know.
Yeah.
But Ash has a little bit of evil in him. The evil hand, by the way, still around. Come Ash versus Evil Dead, still in the cabin hanging out, still exists.
Of course it is.
And then we also see in the next movie how the duality of Evil Ash versus Hero Ash, and we'll get into Army of Darkness. But despite the low budget and the cheesiness, I am personally a fan of the more straight up horror approach of 1984's Evil Dead versus Evil Dead 2. But I mean, it's like I said, it's a cult classic. It's iconic in the nature of everything that is in that movie and who Ash Williams really truly is and came to be loved as. Like, that's not, as Katie put it, the pussy from the first movie. It's this idiot savant of a hero who just kind of stumbles into ass kickery, which we really see in the next movie.
Yeah, like where the fuck did all right, we'll get there. Jesus.
This one is more of a nutcase, a little unhinged, to say the least. But yeah, part 2 we kind of just went campy with a capital C. But in a way it kind of foreshadowed, that spoof-ish type of thing. Like eventually we get Scary Movie as a spoof of Scream, and I think this kind of signaled that coming further down the line a little bit, because that wasn't the direction of this movie, but it kind of lets like, okay, so we're integrating some comedy into this horror a little bit, and we're making it a little less terrifying. Essentially, we're kind of just making a slight transition a little bit. So I feel like that just kind of, it was a little bit of foreshadowing. That's the best way I could describe it.
This franchise set the tone for a lot of what was to come in horror. I'd say, honestly, even if you're not a fan of the franchise or the movies, what it kind of put out there and allowed, a lot of us are a fan of what they took from these movies and what they made from them. So, like I said, Cabin in the Woods, one of my favorite movies of all time, is kind of the premise that a lot of this is based on, with the elements of other horror movies. You talked about, the spoof. They kind of spoofed their own movie in the sequel a little bit, brought in that comedy aspect, which in horror, especially around this time in the 80s, you weren't seeing a lot of that comedy horror. Like Jason was very serious. Michael Myers was very serious. Freddy didn't really get kind of slapstick till the late 80s. We're talking like 89, 87, before, he started cutting up and hitting us with one-liners. And even there, it was still kind of a little more serious. So,
yeah, I agree with that.
They were also banging out fucking Nightmare on Elm Streets from 84 to fucking 93, like one every year almost, or one every other year.
So many movies.
Just like,
yeah.
And some of them are terrible.
4 or 5.
All right, Army of Darkness. So at the end of Evil Dead 2, Dead by Dawn, Annie Nobi decides that by deciphering the lost pages that she found and brought to the cabin, the best way to stop the evil is to read more Latin from a book. So she does. It's supposed to open up a portal that is going to send the evil back to where it came from, or whatever. The severed hand of Ash stabs her in the back with the Kandarian dagger as she is reciting the Latin. We're unsure if she really fully got to finish the incantation. She does give us the last kanda in her last breath. However, Ash's car, the cabin, everything Ash all sucked into this portal and thrown to medieval England and the what would you call it? It's not the Empire of Kandar, I guess. Where Deadites are just kind of a thing. The book exists, and Ash is a man out of time looking to get back to the future.
That's a different movie franchise.
I'm just gonna be totally honest. I could never do this movie completely. It's like it's bits and pieces of it. I can't. It's like Monty Python, basically. Like I can't do it. I can't do it. It's just how did we go from where we were to this because the studio wants to get involved and take a whole new spin on it. It's like it's just too much of a departure for me. Like he's a hero now. Like I get the whole like the end of part 2. They had the foreshadowing the hero and standing above a bunch of people, and that's how you ended the movie. Okay, fine. And even if you had like a flashback scene or something like that showed that in this movie, whatever. But we just took it all the way there, and I'm just like, no, I reject this. I reject it all. I just don't. It's just don't.
So here's my thing, though. This version of Ash, outside of the like, so this is who like this fully realized who Ash Williams would be in the TV show. Like this is full on who he is. This guy who thinks he's way more charming than he probably really is, kind of a dick, yet for whatever reason has this unwitting, unknown like power and skill to just fuck up Deadites, but is also a complete and total idiot about everything that he does. And that is the big mass appeal and charm of the Ash versus Evil Dead series, which is why I loved that series so much. Is it's that character taken a lot more set in the world of the original Evil Dead with all of the important elements that everyone loved from Evil Dead 2, like the chainsaw arm and, here the boomstick and, all of those beats and kind of combining everything together. And that's what really brings that whole series together to make it one of my favorite things in horror that I've watched that wasn't a movie or a franchise, just for TV, and really brought me around on everything that was Evil Dead outside of, what we're going to talk about next, which is my favorite fucking thing, Evil Dead. But he does, like, Bruce Campbell really does, despite all of the cheesy, and I agree, Monty Python-esque shit that is in this movie, has a charm about him. And even though he's a fucking idiot, even though he's told, recite 4 words and he can't remember them and he fucks them up and causes all these problems and makes things worse twice, like, you can't help but kind of love him because he's also blasting the fuck out of these Deadites and cutting them up and running his mouth and talking shit and owning that shit,
Yeah, which brings me back to, if not for Bruce Campbell and this character of Ash Williams that really is him, this doesn't work. None of this shit works. I don't think any of it is watchable, honestly, from top to bottom, until we get to like the new stuff.
Katie?
When you said watch Evil Dead, I was like, okay, fine. I'll give it a go. I was like, ooh, horror, first one. Okay. Second one, campy, weird bullshit. Fine, I'll take it. Was not expecting time travel and weird dead Ash and
Dead-eyed Ash.
Yeah. I really question why you make me watch things sometimes.
Trust me. Trust me, trust me, trust me. Like I said, it's the basis for some other stuff that you really do enjoy. Like the original Evil Dead is essentially what 2013 is, but with a much better production budget and everything behind it.
Yeah.
Which is why it's so great. All of this is the basis for hopefully what is going to be an awesome movie in Evil Dead Rise. And if you trust me and you sit down and you watch Ash versus Evil Dead, I guarantee you all of this shit will be worth it because you are going to enjoy the ride that is that show. Like, it is so much fun. As someone who has come out and said, I don't fucking like this director and the shit he does, and I wasn't really a fan of anything, I sat down and I watched that and I fucking loved it before reflecting back on everything. Ash vs. Evil Dead is very much more multiverse of madness than it is this stuff. It's taking this stuff and kind of making it make sense, but pulling a lot of it. So you're going to see a lot of shit, and you'll look back on this viewing more fondly, seeing it in a better format in a TV show, where it's also a little bit more digestible because it's spread out between 10 episodes instead of shoved in your face for 3 hours straight, you know? It's not everything all at once. Boom, 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 boom. Tiny little Ashes kicking Ash's ass. Ash's ass. Ash splitting into two people, killing himself, rising back up. An army of darkness and demons descending on knights and shit. And Ash having to fight them off. However, props to Ash Williams, because you show up, you've got your chainsaw hand, you've got your boomstick, you're the only person in the fucking world that has a gun. Everyone's already terrified of you. You work at a fucking convenience or an outlet store, yet you are able to go back in time and construct yourself a fully operational robot hand in medieval times.
How? Is he Tony Stark of that time period?
Again, he is like if Tony Stark was an idiot savant. Yeah, like
I've never heard you say the word savant until now, and you have said it like 4 times.
I mean, it's the best way to describe Ash.
Yeah.
Can we just talk about 2013 because we all like that movie?
Before we get into that, you don't have to go back into medieval times to make your own, handcrafted hands or toys, because you've got Adam and Eve. Adam and Eve is the nation's largest marketer of adult products with millions of satisfied customers in the United States and all over the world. Founded in 1971, Adam and Eve is also one of the oldest names in the rapidly evolving adult industry. For more than 50 years, they have built up a reputation as a trusted and reliable adult toy store that takes pleasure and privacy seriously. When you want to shop erotic toys, Adam and Eve has it all. Men, women, straight or gay, anywhere in between, including deadites and horny trees. Adam and Eve has adult toys you are looking for, including but not limited to vibrators, dildos, anal sex toys, bondage toys, couples toys, lubes, sexy gifts, and accessories. Unlike other adult toy stores, Adam and Eve stands behind all their products and offers a no questions asked return policy. So whether you bought a dildo, sex swing, penis ring, you can get a refund within 90 days if you're not 100% satisfied. So go to adamandeve.creationworld.com and use code erotica to receive 50% off one item plus free shipping on orders of $49 or more. That is adamandeve.creationworld.com and use code erotica to receive 50% off and free shipping.
Great.
Nice plug. Ash vs. Evil Dead is on Stars, right?
It is.
Okay.
Katie doesn't have to worry about that, though, because it's also part of my whole streaming platform that I gave her access to so that she could actually watch movies for the first time in her life. So
good. Very
I
good.
watch movies.
Now?
I mean, you do now.
Rick and I.
Like, it's been, 3 years? So, I mean, in that time, I would think you probably got a nice digestible amount.
See, it's this shit that makes me hate you guys. Because you act like you wrote this narrative. Never seen a movie in my life. I have. You guys just don't ever believe me in anything I say.
I mean, if you say so.
See,
it's
this
debatable,
condescending bullshit
but,
hurts my feelings.
It's just it's debatable. Is all I'm saying.
It's not debatable. I've seen movies.
Also, we did not talk about the fact that Ash does get back to his time. He is back working at S Smart, Shop S Smart. The Deadites followed him because he didn't, say every single little syllable correctly, but he mostly got it right. And then he is ass kicking again in the future, or in the present at the end of that movie. But okay, I'll stop torturing you guys.
It's
There's just like the
stop,
groovy,
please.
all of it. It's so big in the franchise. But
Look, great catchphrase, great weapon, great everything, great image.
Hot
Shitty
man,
movie.
but like terrible movies.
Evil Dead,
I'll-
2013. Oh, what?
Yeah, I was just saying that one movie. I'll even let the first two live, but that last one, yeah, no.
God.
Not an Army of Darkness guy.
No.
Evil Dead 2013 came out my birthday weekend. So I actually believe it debuted on April 4th. It might have been the 5th. I think it was the 5th. I saw the trailer for this. I was never really a big Evil Dead guy, but I saw the trailer and I'm like, this looks interesting. I want to see this for my birthday. So I got a group of friends together. They all agreed. We watched it opening night for my birthday. The opening scene of this movie sold me more than anything in cinema has ever sold me within the first 10 minutes of a movie. I stood up and clapped and cheered, and people looked at me like I was crazy after the dad blew his daughter's head off after setting her on fire because she was a Deadite, and the whole exchange. I loved this movie so much, I went back the very next night and watched it again, and I never do that. I never go see a movie 2 days in a row, let alone would I normally ever go, no matter how much I like it, to see a movie twice in theaters. I'll watch it. I love it. I enjoy it. I wait for it to come out. I don't really watch movies multiple times in theaters. This movie I did. I've gone on record as saying Evil Dead 2013 is my favorite horror movie that has come out in the last decade. Since I've made that statement, we have gotten the new Halloween movies and a couple new Scream movies. I don't know if I love it more than I love 2018 Halloween. Scream 6 is right up there as well. There have been some, but it is, it's actually kind of a comfort film for me. Like when there's nothing else, I will sit down and I will watch that movie. I love everything about it because it's a remake, it's a reboot, it's the original Evil Dead. It is the story of the original Evil Dead. These people go to a cabin, they find a book, Latin gets read, and shit happens. But it takes everything that was horror about the original Evil Dead and expounds upon it. It gives it the production that it deserves. And so you're not comparing all of these, because the worry with this movie was Ash has become an iconic character, right?
Mm-hmm.
Ash is an iconic character. We don't want people, comparing everyone to Bruce Campbell. So there is no Ash Williams in this movie. They've changed the characters, the players, and their relationships and associations and why they're there, so that you can sit down and appreciate the movie for what it is without drawing parallels to this character, that character from the franchise, from the movie, so on and so forth. Essentially, a girl who is addicted to heroin is going to a cabin that her parents used to own, or her family owned, that has been abandoned for a while, to detox with two friends. Her brother comes up with his girlfriend to join them and support her. In the meantime, someone goes into the basement. There's a bunch of dead cats and rituals, which, again, the opening scene of this movie is fucking incredible. They find a book wrapped in a plastic bag, bound in barbed wire. They open it. One guy's an idiot, goes way too far out of his way to find out what the evil Latin that he's not supposed to speak is, and then say it. And then horny trees and chainsaw arms, ladies and gentlemen. This movie gave you everything that the original Evil Dead gave you, plus some of the fun shit from the other movies, but in a very, very horror-centric background. I can't say enough about this movie. I fucking love it.
Yeah, I mean, the opening scene you sent us like sometime last year, and you were like, "You both need to watch this," and we did, and we were like, "Fuck, okay, you got us, we're in." So we watched a movie.
Yeah,
phenomenal.
I couldn't agree more about the whole opening scene thing because it takes a lot to actually grab me, right off the bat in the movie, and it's just the unpredictability of a scene like that, and just to go completely from, I mean, as far left field as you can possibly go, and you think one thing's happening and then it flips into something different. It's like, whoa. Like, it's just that in itself could have served as a trailer, and I would have been like, okay, well, I got to see what the fucking movie is, because this is just insane. I think when you think about where a lot of, like I said, supernatural movies are, and like a lot of the ghost possession films that have come out lately, it's like they've all kind of just been so one after another and kind of following the same pattern. It's just getting a little too polluted, basically. Like, it wasn't feeling different. This kind of felt different because, yeah, you're revisiting an old story, an old original idea, but you did it in such a way that it's like it kind of it makes all that other stuff feel different. Like, it's like this wasn't just another one of those movies. Like, it got you going again. I hadn't been into like all the ghost like movies and stuff like that. This had me like, oh, okay, I could watch another one of these, and I will watch another one of these. And I also love the fact that we don't have a central character like in Ash that we have to, I guess, live up to. This I forget what the chick's name is, but this character, Mia, yeah, she kind of doubles down and playing multiple roles, like, because in the original there was a different girl that gets caught up in by the tree and stuff like that than Ash was, and she winds up being the person who's the last one standing at the end of it. So it's so, I'm trying to figure out the words to use here, but you had some different layers going on in this, and that was really interesting. And I think the idea was, it's not so much a reboot, it's a sequel that just tells a tale that the events that took place in the original that can just replicate themselves. So it's a reboot in the sense that you're telling the story over again, but in reality, in this universe, it's just the same events reoccurring, because you have this Necronomicon that still exists, that can just bring back all this madness to start all over again. So
here's the thing.
Do what you do.
Here's the thing.
Yeah, I'm good.
I feel like if you love Evil Dead 2 and you love Army of Darkness, you're not going to love this movie. Like, if it's those aspects of the Evil Dead franchise, the campiness, the corniness, the over-the-topness, the character that is Ash Williams is what draws you in, this movie is not going to be for you. If you really love the original Evil Dead and you're looking for something updated and like really actually deep into the horror, and you're not looking for all of the flash and the flare, well, I guess flash and flare isn't really, but all of the over-the-top cartooniness of the franchise that people have grown to love and admire about it, I think you're going to really enjoy this. they take I mean, there's a lot here. Like there are scenes in this movie that are intense when she is in the wall trying to get the chainsaw started, and the Abomination has the machete and it is stabbing through the wall and missing her, and then goes through her knee and pulls out. That the look on her face, the story she tells, everything that Mia does there is intense. They do lead you to kind of believe that David is going to kind of maybe be the Ash Williams of this. And then as Reek says, it's not, it's Mia. Mia's playing both Cheryl and Ash in kind of different ways. And David's also doing the same thing in kind of different ways. It's also, I mean, there's a lot of gross out horror in this movie. Like this is a graphic horror movie. Jessica Lucas, who is fine as fuck, by the way, the nurse friend that was there.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Carving her face open, puking black sludge onto Mia, the scene with the needle and the eye.
No.
The turkey carver cutting the girlfriend's arm off because her hand gets bit and it's starting to get possessed like Ash's, and all of that. And it dropping everything with the fucking nail gun scene and people getting shot with nails from the nail gun into you. They said that at the time, it's been 10 years, so I don't know. And literally 10 years, just over 10 years to the day of the release of this movie. But at the time, this was the most blood, fake blood used in an actual movie.
I believe it.
At the time. The entire end scene, it is raining blood. Everything is covered and drenched in blood. Everyone is drenched in blood.
That's a high point. Like if the opening scene didn't sell you enough, that specific scene, chainsaw at the very end that she used, which is kind of an homage to, I think it was 2, where he's got the head that's stuck in the vice and he just uses the chainsaw. But you get up close and see it all the way, and it's like up to 10,000 when they do it. Like that's some shit out of Mortal Kombat, and I'm a huge Mortal Kombat fan, so that
fatality.
That was chef's kiss.
Awful. And that's the other thing, and the reason why I love this movie is in Ash versus Evil Dead, she speaks Evil Dead 2. She speaks the incantation. It's supposed to like bring the demon into like a somewhat form, like a human-esque form or whatever, and it's just like a giant tree face that comes through the door, and it's again really campy and kind of cheesy. But here, after everyone dies, the abomination rises, and it's Mia's face, but on this Marilyn Manson, Beautiful People-esque, bodysuit, lanky, awkward, like no genitals, sort of moving around figure that is strong and terrifying and dementing and coming for. The one gripe that I have about this movie, the one thing I never like to see in any movie, is they killed Grandpa.
Oh, the dog.
And how David just knew that it was his sister, that like he just has this flash in his head of, oh, my sister came in here and killed my dog with a hammer.
Bludgeoned the dog to death?
Because we love dogs here at Creation World.
Oh, yes.
We want to take care of our dogs. So if you need to go to a cabin with your dog and keep him safe and make sure that, your sister doesn't lose her shit and beat him to death with a hammer, you should go to dog.com, because dog.com is your online dog supply shopping and information destination. Everything your dog needs, from toys to treats and food, is available, including collars, leashes. They even have outdoor gear to keep your dog safe, and water safety gear so it can escape, evil demons in the cabin by swimming away for your furry friend. Go to dog.creationworld.com to receive up to 64% off your order today. That is dog.creationworld.com. I did it.
You really just find a way every time.
It's very seamless, and that's impressive.
I try my hardest to not make it awkward, or to make it awkward but work.
I was gonna say, sometimes you definitely make it awkward.
For you, but not for the listeners
Yeah, for me.
Yeah,
or Vince or whoever.
I
No,
don't find it
that's
awkward
awkward.
at all.
I mean, I've used Vince in that sense and talked about like sticking things up his butt and then transitioned into Adam and Eve. So like,
Whew. All
or
right.
I've told Vince like if you need a penis sleeve because you're not matching up, you can go to AdamandEve.com. Like I've used that, so it's not just you. I fucking love this movie, and what has me most excited about Evil Dead Rise is Evil Dead Rise because Fede Alvarez directed this movie. Fede Alvarez also directed the first Don't Breathe, which I also really liked. Was very similar and had a lot of those scenes, and used the same main actress in Don't Breathe that this movie had as well.
Oh my
No
god,
You didn't
shit.
realize
right.
that until right now?
No.
Because she's a
Jane
blonde in
Levy.
that movie.
Yep, Jane Levy, same actress, both movies, same director.
Fuck.
Damn.
And the scene with the turkey baster in that movie.
Oh,
No, I don't want to talk about it. Can we move on?
But
that's
all the trailers that I've seen and watched for Evil Dead Rise very much gives you the tone and feel that this movie does, which is why I'm so excited for it, because this is what I wanted more of out of Evil Dead. I'm sure we got, like I said, we got a 3 seasons of continuing and completing Ash's story from the original movies that hopefully has kind of satiated people. I'm sure they would have loved a reboot of Evil Dead 2, Dead by Dawn, and the Army of Darkness, and going down that route, and maybe a new. If you couldn't replace Bruce Campbell as Ash, but if they tried in that vein, this is where I think the future of the Evil Dead franchise is. This movie, Evil Dead Rise, which is not by Fede Alvarez, but has that same feel in the trailer, that same, and taking the Necronomicon, bringing it out of the cabin, bringing it into a new setting, and unleashing Deadites on the world in various locations, and making it be the center of the story and not a hero or a final girl or a character. Like, we're not continuing Mia's story in Evil Dead Rise. This isn't really a sequel to the 2013 Evil Dead, but it carries on that tone that I love so much from the trailer.
Well, yeah. And, the biggest thing for me, and this is important because I've told you guys about this. I didn't do horror movies as a small child because it just, the slightest thing, I was a punk about it. Like, it just couldn't do it. It was just an unsettling feeling that I had the second I see the tone of a certain movie. And it's like when I saw, like, this kind of gave that unsettling feeling back to me. That part. This kind of gives that unsettling feeling back to me. Like, even watching the trailer for this new one, it's just like it gives that vibe. And that's a very old feeling that hasn't been around, because again, horror hasn't been doing it the last previous years up until recently. So it's like, if you're getting that out of me, you're doing something right. So that alone kind of just says, all right, you got me for however much longer. You got my attention.
I was excited for Halloween because it's Halloween and because I love Michael Myers. I was excited for Scream because it's a franchise that, was 6 movies in the making, and, they had things like that.
Look at that.
Evil Dead Rise is one of those movies that is out there. We haven't had one in 10 years, and from the trailer alone, it's got me excited. Not a lot of horror movies have had me excited. You guys talk about Evil Dead Rise real quick and your excitement.
Okay. Go ahead.
It's like I said before. I don't often have that unsettling feeling about any movies anymore, because it just hasn't been the same. Horror hasn't been the same to me. So for this, it's just like, because of the bar that the last movie set, now going into this, it's like we're just kind of kicking this up a notch a little bit, and I'm really just looking forward to, how much crazier it's gonna get from this point on, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, 2013 was so good, and I didn't expect to like it because I'm usually not into like super gory stuff. Like I can do the Saw movies, but I can't to an extent. I'm not a big fan of the gore, and anything with like eyes, I have to look away. I have that's fear for a lot of reasons. So like no, but this new one really just I don't know it is that feeling like when I go see it in theaters I will be probably hiding behind my hands because I'm a child because it's the anxiety and the fear of I don't know what the hell is going to happen and I am scared and I'm excited.
Well, and also too because it's different. You've got kids now. There's always a heightened level of like fearfulness and sensitivity when there's kids in the movie.
Yeah.
I don't know. For some reason, that just like raises the stakes a little bit.
Especially when you have a fucking kid now.
No, I don't have one of those.
When you have a kid and there are kids involved, it's a whole new level of shit, which is again crazy that like I watched Evil Dead 2013 when I was single right before I met Kate. It was this movie about the single girl, blah, blah, blah. Now they're giving me another one 10 years later, shortly after, I've had my child with children involved. But again, this was the reason I'm excited for other horror movies isn't the reason I'm excited for this. Like, I love 2013, but I know I'm not getting a sequel to 2013. I know I'm not continuing Mia's story. Halloween was exciting because it's the first Halloween we've gotten where we're kind of continuing that original story. It was 2018. We had our Laurie Strode. We had Michael Myers. Like, we had the key characters, and the trailer did that. And that was where the excitement came from because it's my favorite franchise of all time. The trailer got me hyped for it, but I didn't really need the trailer to be hyped. I was already hyped just by knowing that one was coming out. Same thing with Scream, because we've been doing this more consistently since the 90s than anything else, where, every so often we're dropping, we did Scream 3, and then we had a little while, then we got Scream 4, then we got 5, now we got 6, 7's coming out. But it's something like you're really familiar with. 10 years from an Evil Dead movie, and they're dropping one that is not associated to, as far as I know, from what I saw in the trailer, until I get to see it on 21st, to anything else. So it's really just the trailer alone that has to hook me and get me excited for it. And it did. And it is one of the first horror movie trailers where I was like, I told my wife, we're closing on the house that we're living in the day this came out. I said, get a babysitter. We're going to go to the closing. We're going to buy a fucking house and then go to the movie theater and watch this fucking thing while we're out.
Hell yeah.
Like there's one right down the road from the fucking title place. We're going to get out of the closing. We're going to go sit down. And I am watching that the day it comes out.
That's awesome.
Based off the trailer and how excited I am for it, because it looks so fucking good. The last time I was this hyped for a movie, I was sorely disappointed. And it's one of my most hated horror movies of all time. But the trailer got me that hyped. And that's fucking It Follows. I hate It Follows with a goddamn passion. But the trailer looked so fucking good. And I was so excited, which is why I was so disappointed. I don't think Evil Dead's going to do that to me. I really think it's going to deliver. It's got everything I'm looking for. And I am fucking stoked.
It's going to be awesome.
Reek, I'm not going to jinx it. I'm just going to do this for you. And I'm just going to shut the fuck up. So that's what you didn't get to see. And I don't want to jinx it by saying, "Oh, your internet's been seeming great lately, but let me play it, then have it fuck up." So I did it for you.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Ow.
Allison killed it. She did.
Yeah, man. Listen, I don't know. I don't got nothing. That's fucking fire. That's really fire.
Shout
I gotta
out
put it on
to
payroll.
Heel Tactics _ for the dope ass fucking theme song. Shout out to Vince for the original intro, which was also great and I loved. And then shout out to Allison at Just a Girl 89, I believe 89.
918.
918. Yeah, Just a Girl 918. For that new intro that we have. We recently dubbed ourselves the Core 4, even though we're just the Core 3/4 right now.
Justin's here in spirit, doesn't matter.
Justin's here in spirit. We've got a brand new intro to kick off Evil Dead Month, celebrating a franchise that spawned again, one of my favorite horror movies in the last 10 years. Getting ready the weekend of the 21st, as long as everyone rushes out and goes to see it and we're ready to go that Saturday or Sunday, we will sit down, we will review the new movie next weekend, hopefully, right here. Well, not right here, not on Twitch or YouTube, but right here on the Getting Off channel over at pornhub.com/models/creation world. Evil Head watch along. We did the Texas Dildo Masquerade. We're going to do Evil Head in honor of Evil Dead Month here for the Getting Off podcast. And maybe next year, if we get another Evil Dead, if this is a success, we can come back and do 3 seasons of Ash versus Evil Dead and give Katie some time to watch that and prep it. That's what I said. Next year, yeah.
I can get it done by the end of next month. I had a lot this month.
Well, I mean, we're not going to have it done by April, and I wanted April to be Evil Dead Month, so I don't want to go into March. So
listen. Not everyone can binge at your speed, Miss Katie Kinsey.
I get attached to shows, and if it's a full show and I can just watch it all, I will watch it all.
Well, it's not engagement. It's the time frame that I'm working with.
Oh yeah. I also don't sleep, so.
Oh well, I can't help you there.
For all of your admirers out there, new and old,
Stop,
Katie, let everyone know where they can find you and all of these exciting things you have coming up this month outside of Evil Head and Evil Dead Rise.
There are no admirers, and we'll talk about that after the fact.
Liar.
But shut up. You can follow me on Twitter at KatieRasson13. The link to I'm about to take out things She Lead Showcase, twitch.tv/She Lead Showcase. Wow, I did it too many times today. 6 p.m. Thursdays. It's sometime around there. YouTube.com/She Lead Showcase. Watch your videos wherever entertaining. Anchor, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts if you want to listen. She Lead Showcase is the brand and the weekly show. New Inside the Mind of with Willow Raven will be out on Monday. It'll also be shot on Monday, so back to back. After that, I don't know. I don't know. I'm everywhere. I don't know. You can find me everywhere, I guess. I do a lot.
Before I go, quick question.
Yes.
This interview was conducted already?
No, it will be conducted on Monday and uploaded on Monday.
Okay. Gotcha. Because I was going to ask if you had a new hobby in place yet. Anyway, you can find me at Recaver24 on Instagram and on Twitter. Also, the On Ice Havoc Hour, all the content is up, including the foundations for which this show was created, which was the horror movie panel, my people here. But that's all up on all streaming platforms, Google Play, Spotify, Anchor, and the video versions, which is the most entertaining versions on YouTube. Still working on a new podcast project. Gonna be coming soon. But all that stuff is up now that you can check out at the moment. And also my Instagram page, which I still relatively keep up with, _the Havoc Hour _.
I was just showing off my Evil Dead tattoo while he was plugging his stuff.
You're just playing with something else great.
Mia, the cabin, Evil Dead. You guys can follow me as always at Getting Offed on Twitter only for this content, this horror movie content, what we have going on. If you're a wrestling fan, you want to go check out Smack and Raw, you can follow me on Twitter at Matt Riddler, at MATTRIDDER, only on Twitter. And then Creation World is the banner under which everything exists. They're on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at It's Creation World, ITSCREATIA World, as well as everywhere you want to find us, whether it's Linktree / Creation World. There's also Linktree / Getting Off, Linktree / Mac and Raw, but Creation World to get you everything under the banner of what Creation World does, this, Smack and Raw, and everything else, and creationworld.com. So go check all of that out. I want to thank you guys for joining me to talk Evil Dead. I apologize for making you suffer through Army of Darkness and Dead by Dawn, which clearly was not your cup of tea, but we got to geek out about one of my favorite horror movies of all time. And if you guys stick around for the post show, that infamous opening clip that I've been talking about, we're going to rewatch just because I really want to rewatch it. So stick around for the post show for that. But for what nickname are you going by these days, Reek? You change it up all the time.
Oh yeah. So since I went to London, I came back as King Reek of House of Havoc, first of his name.
All right. So
But
for
that's
Dr.
kinda
Reek
long.
Baker, BBC, and Miss Katie Kinsey, Bebe, the shaman of Sheely and Sultan of Step On Me, I am the patron saint of podcasting, the Warden Matt Ritter, and this has been your #1 horror podcast on Pornhub.